We always see powerlifters moving amazing weight, but what we never see is what goes on behind the scenes. Besides the effort that they put in and all the training and dedication, we never see the true unsung heroes of who's behind getting these people to where they need to be. Coaches are so underrated and underappreciated and under-talked about when it comes to the sport of powerlifting. Coaches are the ones who help us push and load the weight onto the bar on meet day. They're the ones who encourage us to lift more and more. They're the ones who get us to the point where we are lifting the weights that we are capable of lifting. But you may be thinking, Lenny, why would I pay for a coach? I can do it on my own. I can do this all for free. I know how to load a bar. And you can do that. You could walk into the gym. You could load a bar on your own. You could load your weights. You could do your own programming. But what you don't realize is the amount of potential that you are leaving behind in doing this. Think about other sports. Think about solo sports or team sports. Team sports, you've got a coach who's telling you the plays to make on the day of. Think of football, think of hockey, and even think of solo sports. Other solo sports like boxing, you have a coach who's helping you train, who's helping you come up with routines, who's even helping you find fights and helping you train and spar for those fights. Powerlifting is no different. Coaches provide critique, they provide insight, they provide knowledge. They're there for handling on meet day. They're there for programming. They're there to come up with pretty much making you the best powerlifter and the strongest version of yourself that you can be. And that's why I'm making this video, to explain to you my thoughts on why you should not necessarily get one. Honestly, I think you should get one, but at least why you should consider a coach when it comes to powerlifting and the difference it can make in your training going forward. I want to make 6 reasons on why I think you should have a powerlifting coach moving forward in the sport of powerlifting. Alright, so the first reason I think you need a coach is experience. Having somebody who has been there before and done it before is key. Having someone who knows the ropes, knows the sport, knows what they're doing is amazing, especially when it comes to powerlifting. They know how to train with potential injuries. They know how to avoid injuries. They know how to train with the idea of plateaus and how to overcome plateaus. They also just have tips for meet days. If they're experienced, they've been through it. They've had meets before. They know what's going to happen. They know what has potential to happen. And they're there to let you know and give you a heads up ahead of time. And they're there to deal with any problems that come up or prevent any problems from coming up. Second reason you should get a coach, accountability. Anyone could walk in and say they're holding themselves accountable or they're doing the work. Anyone could walk in with a program, 3 sets of 12, and go, I'm not really feeling the 3 sets today. I'll stick with the 2. But with a coach, I mean, you're paying for the service anyway, so all you're doing is doing yourself a disservice, which you're doing anyway. But not only are you doing that, you're wasting money. So there's a phenomenon called the sunk cost fallacy, which I believe in a lot of things is true. It's the reason I had such a hard time giving up Destiny 2, but that's completely unrelated. We've trashed that addiction, that's gone, and I'm never getting those 2,000 hours back. But the sunk cost fallacy basically states that once you have money sunk into something, you're less likely to give it up, even if it provides no advantage or no benefit. Now, I'm not saying this is completely true when it comes to having a coach, because obviously there is benefit. But what I am saying is once you have the money sunk into getting this program and sunk into getting this coaching, you're more likely to stick to the work because obviously, if not, you're just wasting away your money. You're going to want to do some of the work, if not all of the work, in order to make back the money that you have spent on the coaching. The next reason you should have a coach, critique. Critique is something huge and many people don't like it because they like to think that they know all what they're doing, but you don't. There's stuff that you could be improving on, and there's always ways that you could work on getting better at your sport. So having a coach being able to be there or just watch the videos and check in and critique your form and find little micro adjustments that you can make would make a world of difference. I've had plenty of critique on my lifts from my coach. We've gone back and forth, come up with ideas, made changes to form, technique, training. All it takes is reaching out to your coach, getting that critique, and then working with it. And I'm going to go into a couple examples now with both my bench and my deadlift.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about with my critique is my deadlifts. After losing a lot of weight, my deadlift started to fall off. There were days where it just either wouldn't move or would move so bad we just didn't want to talk about it. So I told my coach, I said, hey, something isn't right here. What can we do? And we came up with a couple things. First thing we did was improve or add more hinge movements to improve my form. So we had stiff leg deadlifts to focus on movement of my back during the deadlift. And then after that, we moved to RDLs, keeping the same movement but focusing more onto grip by upping the weights and reps that I was doing. Finally, most recently, I changed up my stance. At Metro, I rushed my setup. I had a wider stance when I pulled my 200 kilograms. But this rush felt better to me. The pushing my feet apart felt better. So I mentioned to the coach one day. We decided to try it a couple weeks later. I was programmed to pull 385 at I think it was an RPE 8. And then I messaged coach. He said try opening up your stance. And I ended up pulling 405 at a 6, and it made a huge. Second, we have bench. For the longest time, I was a flat back, no leg drive, stupid ass baby. Coach called me out on it, and we worked on improving. First, by training more of my legs to engage during the lift, finding that mind-muscle connection of pushing through my feet while I bench, which started to make a difference. And next, we brought in me reaching my chest out more while I lift, and it has allowed my bench to improve drastically.
All right, and the next reason to get a coach is programming. You're not going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to be honest here. Your program, if you wrote it yourself, is not as good as you think it is. You're not maximizing your potential, and you're not pushing yourself to what can truly be done. By having a coach who does programming for you, not only does it take the stresses of figuring out what am I going to lift that day, what am I going to do that day, out of it, but it also takes having to worry about the weight itself out of it. You might think, oh, this moved kind of heavy, I'm not going to go any heavier because I don't really feel like it or I'm tired. But again, like I've mentioned previously, if you have a coach, your coach is telling you, hey, you're moving this weight on this day, you're going to do it. It's the reason to do it is there. By having a coach, you're able to maximize your potential as well as they're able to find issues in your training and really push you to your limits. Not only this, many coaches have their experience and they can work around programming around plateaus and injuries. If you're doing your own programming, more than likely you are going to get tired of it and you're going to plateau or you're going to stop seeing results. Or you're going to keep doing something, not realize you're overworking yourself and get injured. By having a coach who does both of this for you, that worry is taken completely out of it altogether. Alright, and the next reason to have a coach is meat handling. Not that kind of meat handling. Having a coach be there on meet day so that you don't have to worry about loading the bar and what weight is being loaded onto the bar, as well as just being able to figure out where to go next is great. If you're somebody like me, not having to worry about what numbers to take next is taking so much stress off the lifter. Not only that, I'm somebody who often gets intimidated by the number that I know I'm lifting. It gets in my head as much as I like to think it doesn't. Knowing what's on the bar gets in my head, and I don't lift at my full potential. Having a handler there is able to dictate what weights you want to have loaded on that day, therefore meaning the lifter doesn't have to worry about it, and it's one less stress you need on meet day. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, you want as little stress going into meet as possible, and you want to go in and just lift. So having a coach be there to help you make those decisions on the day, or obviously to make those decisions for you, is huge. Aside from that, if you miss a lift or have an off-feeling lift or something feels weird, you have someone there to talk to discuss where you're going to go next and what to load next. So they're making sure that if you missed your last lift, you are not missing your next one. And my last tip, one-on-one training. Now this obviously isn't something that everyone's going to have access to. It all depends on where your coach is located. Many powerlifting coaches you will end up being remote, because obviously there's only so many in your local area to choose from. I lucked in, my coach is local, and it means that we can train one-on-one. And I speak from experience when I say that one-on-one training with your coach is so far above anything else.
Start. Press. Let's work, come on. Yep.
Come on, let's go.
Easy, let's go. Yep.
Good man.
Nice. Yes, sir.
Boy.
They can only do so much when they're only seeing your videos about once a week or whenever your check-in schedule demands that you send videos and check in. But by having a one-on-one session with your coach, it can make a world of difference. When I struggled squatting in the beginning, I had a one-on-one session with my coach. We went through it, we corrected form mistakes, and we got my squat back on order. When I was leading up to Metro, I was training a lot more at Club U, and I can tell you training at Club U one-on-one with my coach, because that's where he trains, made a world of difference. Just being able to load proper weights and load whatever had to be loaded. Just being able to load the proper weights for the RPE that you're prescribed as opposed to the weight you're prescribed is huge. I'd go into Club U and I'd load the weight that was prescribed for that day and I'd lift it, and I'd look at my coach would look at me and he'd say load more, and we'd load more, and we would load it at the RPE the first one was supposed to. Just because the energy was there, but we had that one-on-one session where he can make the judgment call at the time. Ultimately, this is just my opinion. I'm not telling you how to spend your money. It's your money. I can't tell you how to spend your money. I'm just saying that when it comes to powerlifting, it is probably more than likely beneficial for you to consider getting a coach. And I wanted to outline some reasons of why I think you should get one. But anyway, that's going to be it for this week's video, and I will see you guys in the next one.